Started. Hello again for everybody watching to another episode of TFB Thinks, where we just sit and talk stories about relevant issues about Micronesia and pretty much just whatever we want. I'm again joined by my friends Sammy and Yusu. I'm Russell, by the way. Um, Keep in mind that these are just our opinions that we're going to be talking about, not necessarily the express opinions and views of TFB as a whole, just our own. So just keep that in mind and let's have some fun.
All right, cool. Let's start. But before we move on, we have a good number of topics here. But before we go through them, we have to address the white and yellow elephants in the room. And it's a question that and a statement that has been coming up uh, on a personal level. And it's, are we the right people to be talking about these issues?
The three of us in this
The
room.
three of us in this room. Yeah. So what do you guys think?
To represent, I don't know. I mean, we're not trying to generalize anything, so we're just members of the community talking about how we feel about how we view the topics that we talk about. So,
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think the issue is, I think maybe the question is, are we Micronesian enough to be talking about Micronesian issues?
That's a more straightforward way of putting it. Yeah.
Yes, I am a Micronesian. I believe you two are Micronesians too.
Yeah.
We've lived there for a pretty good chunk of our lives. We've just been out here for quite a while, though. Maybe that might be an issue, but yes, I think we are Micronesian enough to talk about Micronesian issues.
Right.
Are we representative of everyone in Micronesia?
Are we a good representation of Micronesia?
No, I don't think
Probably not. There's a lot of different groups, a lot of different views.
Right.
Micronesia is made up of a lot of different cultures and language and religions too, I guess.
And I think, when will you be satisfied with a good representation of Micronesia? You would have to see a room with 30 people at least, or 40 people, right? Because you have to cover all the languages, all the cultures, all the subcultures, all the sub-languages, right?
I think we also need to address that we're mostly from the FSM.
Okay, yeah.
We've had a lot of experiences and know a lot of people from the RMI and Palau. Are our views in line with those places? Maybe not always, but
Right, yeah.
I think our experiences have taught us a bit about those two different places.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because all three of us, we went to Xavier. That doesn't mean that we qualify, or just because of that, then we have the legitimacy to talk about all of micro. Absolutely not. What we're trying to say is because of that experience, we have really close and lasting relationships with people from all over the region.
Yeah.
I still talk to people that I met 15 years ago. Yeah. Maybe 20 years ago. That are not my immediate family members.
Yeah, and being at Xavier, like, we were fortunate enough to be exposed to all different cultures throughout the region.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped us connect. I guess makes it easier for us to connect with the other Micronesian islanders. And, I think that really helped us,
Right.
run.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think another thing to bring up too is just the fact that there's really nobody else out there kind of doing something like this right now. So as long as there's nobody else and we're the only ones,
we'll keep doing it until better people come in and take over.
Well, that was always our kind of hope too, kind of like when we started.
Yeah.
Like, if we're not doing a good job, that a young or any Micronesian out there would think, I can do better, and they would go out and do it.
Please. And if you need equipment, we'll help you. It's because we know there are people who are more qualified and who are better suited to do this kind of work. But in the meantime, we don't have them. We don't have their presence. So we'll do it. We'll do as best as we can for now until that time happens.
Yeah.
And I think you have anything else to add? No?
If you guys have anything to add to this show right now going on, please do. We're always looking for your suggestions and comments. So.
And are we always live?
Yes, we're always doing this live, broadcast it, and if you miss a live broadcast, you can always go to our YouTube page and check
Rewatch
us out there. Watch, rewatch the whole thing, and we have other videos on our YouTube channels too. So check it out.
Or if you're
And
on Facebook, you prefer there, just send us a message there too. We're always wanting more people to engage with us.
Speaking about engagement, let's move on to our first topic, where this topic was given to us by one of our longtime supporters, Hiroyuki Mori from Chuk, from iSolutions Micronesia. And in our last podcast, he asked that we talk about the two survivors from PNG who were found and rescued near Satawan, right? They were a party of 5, and they drifted since September 28th. I'm not too familiar with that story, but are you guys familiar with that story?
not
Not-
really,
Okay.
to be honest.
But what a place to wind up on.
That's quite a distance. Yeah, that's quite a distance. But the thing that we should probably bring up is people being lost at sea.
Hmm.
That's becoming a very common thing in the islands, right? And
There's certainly been a rise of
it's
reported incidents.
right. Yeah, the reports seem to be rising. And is it because there are more people now, or we can report these things better, or is there just simply a higher number of people getting lost at sea? What do you guys think? I think it's all three. Yeah, I
Could be all
think
three.
I think there are more people, which leads to people getting lost more at sea, and because we have the means to communicate better, we're finding out about these things more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, look at that was it a couple of years ago, the Mexican guy who drifted to the Marshalls.
right.
It made
Yeah.
world news,
Mhm.
even CNN and everything.
Yeah. But I know of one person who drifted from the FSM to, I don't know how far he got, but he got picked up by a ship from PNG. Right? So that's the other way around. Right? So but nobody talked about that. Like only a few people knew that story. That was a long time ago before the internet, right? So yeah, all of that stuff.
Do you think the appearance of more people getting lost in vessels has something to do with just the increase in people just illegally entering the waters or something?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I kind of want to say it might have to do with the Hokulea, how they're starting the whole sailing thing, the navigation thing throughout Pacific, and I think a lot of the places like PNG are also slowly trying to go in that route, sailing. I don't know if that has to do with
But
the
I don't
thing
think
together.
I don't think these are voyagers and navigators getting
Yeah.
lost. Yeah.
Or what are these like fishermen?
I'm not sure, but for the most part, most of the people who are getting lost are regular fishermen
Mhm.
or people trying to meet their family members or going to another island. They have engine problems or they run out of fuel.
Did we receive any refugees?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's a good point. There was actually a boat. They were trying
Oh.
to get to another country,
Mhm.
and then they drifted into Yap, I believe.
Mhm.
Right. So there is that element of people just trying to seek refuge somewhere else, and then they just end up in our islands. Yeah.
How have we been as hosts in those situations? Like saving these people?
I think we've done a good job. I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, what's the response to in terms of like national, like say FSM, right?
Mhm.
What's their response to things like that happening?
We've like nursed them back and
Yeah.
repatriated them.
yeah, you bring them back to their place. So it's been very positive. I mean, yeah, it's been good.
You know, like I think most places would would like look at this as an opportunity to like for good PR.
Right.
And
yeah.
the way that I think we handle it is like, no, let's just take care of these guys and get home.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we don't need to.
We don't need to make a big deal out of this,
Yeah.
right? Let's just get them back to
Yeah.
their home. Yeah. But talking about getting lost at sea, it's also important to bring up how the size and the immensity of the water.
Mhm.
And in FSM, there are only 3 speedboats.
Is it the patrol vessels?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
patrol vessels. So we only have about 3 to patrol 3 states.
Is it 3?
Oh,
I'm
4
not-
states. I'm sorry,
For yeah.
I'm
but
not
they're
sure
all
about the number of those vessels.
right. But they're all stationed in Pohnpei,
Pohnpei, yeah.
right? So that's another problem, right? So the response time, that's an issue. And I remember when Palau was talking about what do you call it, with their waters, making fishing illegal
Yeah.
in their waters. They talked about patrolling their waters using drones. Now, is that a viable alternative to having these speedboats, to have drones that could go out and maybe spot missing people? What do you guys think?
How much do drones cost versus like actual manpower, like
And
patrolling?
a speedboat.
Yeah.
I mean, that means we're gonna need more trained technicians and
Right. Yeah.
people that can operate these drones. It's very effective in
Mhm.
terms of
Efficiency.
manpower.
Cost.
Yeah, like
Cost
and-
efficiency.
yeah.
I believe Palau said the cost of it would be lower than having actual people on speedboats going around and policing the waters.
See that because you got to pay for fuel and food
Right.
and payroll and
Right,
Yeah.
and launching a drone is just launching a drone. You don't have to collect people who are trained to do this and then get them together in a boat.
Yeah.
Have their supplies and other supplies for people that they find. You know,
It's true, but then you would be cutting a lot of jobs for people too.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
I mean, it might be a really good idea, but there are also a lot of downsides to
Well, what's the
operating
downside
a
of a
drone.
drone?
I mean, with I don't maybe for commercial drones. I mean, as far as I know, there's also the problem of flight time. It's not that long, maybe 1 hour tops with even the best
Mm.
battery efficient
Right, right.
machines.
So
And then there's a problem of range, is how far can a drone fly,
Right.
and if that thing just drops and or have an accident, then
Recovery.
Mhm.
that's it. You got to recover, probably get a new drone,
Right.
and I guess another thing to consider is if the drone spots something, right? The response.
Right. Yeah.
So you think
Or-
maybe the drone technology isn't there yet?
It's
It's not suited for us.
it probably may not be suited for us, considering we have to, if we spot something, we have to send people out,
Hmm.
and within that time period,
Right.
a lot of things could happen. Versus when a patrol boat's actually there spotting someone, the response time is a lot
Maybe
quicker.
the better thing would be to do some kind of hybrid where the drones actually launch from a ship.
Okay. Like the rescue vessels have
Yeah.
drones equipped on them.
Yeah.
Right. So that they can cover a wider range.
Mhm.
But that's a lot of money we're talking about.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of money, but
I mean, yeah, well, maybe, who knows?
should you guys have anything else to add or?
Well, I think right now, though, like when people are getting lost too, with our patrol vessels, we also have like PMA going out on planes.
Right. Yeah.
And then also we have to
Coast-
rely on the U.S.
The
Coast
U.S.
Guard.
Coast Guard, yeah. But that goes back to response time because the U.S. Coast Guard is in Guam, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, response time.
So there's some room to develop there, I guess.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Let's move on to our next topic then, and it's not anything lighter. Racism.
Oh,
Racism. Does
course.
racism exist in the islands? And when what kind of racism? And have you had experiences with racism? Anything?
well,
What kind of racism do we have?
yeah, we do. But just getting back to that first thing we talked about,
Mhm.
are we the right Micronesian talk about? There's certainly that aspect. Like,
Right. Yeah.
there's like certain levels of like Micronesians, and then it's just also like within like Micronesian, there's like lateral racism, right? Like
Right.
it's just between us. Like, oh, you're from this island that doesn't speak this
Right.
language.
You're from this village.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're from that clan. Right. So, what about? I think another big thing to distinguish is the different levels of racism or history of racism. Like when we say racism in the United States, we bring up images of like the Holocaust or slavery,
Mhm.
segregation, and today the shootings today, and those are extreme examples of racism. But when we talk about racism at home, we're like, oh, that guy is cute because he has like light skin or whatever.
Actually,
Right.
yeah, there's that like way that we look at certain like white people.
Yeah.
Not nothing against white people, but it's just like the way we were colonized. We look at the white race as like in the past like kind of superior.
A superior
Yeah,
race. Do you think they imposed that idea onto us, or we
adopted it.
adopted it because they controlled us and
It's
they
a
took us over?
colonial legacy that's happened over time where
Mm.
Yeah, and we're still kind of in it. We're still
Yeah.
trying to like work through it. A lot of our work that we've been doing, especially these past few months.
Right. If you have the time, stay tuned. We're trying to work on some of the discrimination and racism that's occurring here to Micronesians in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
another topic. Going
Yeah.
back to this one.
So like
Yeah.
going along that whole light skin thing, like you mentioned before, all the people that we had in the islands, like Peace Corps and all that, they were all highly educated people with
Right.
very like high
Credential.
degrees and
Yeah.
credentials.
Right.
So we already have that mindset that the people that are coming in, the white
Right.
people, are very smart and they're here to teach us things that we do not.
That's a
know
great
about.
point. So it's like the only white people that we've been exposed to are intelligent people, very courageous people, right? So the only ones that we actually know are really superior, like great people,
Mhm.
right?
Let's talk about how like Filipinos are treated back home
Okay, go ahead.
because they're not always treated well or nicely.
Hmm.
So I've heard like certain situations, seen like all these Filipinos that did this and this.
Right. And there's certainly people that make fun of like simpler childish things like the way they talk,
Right.
the way they dress, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Or, like if you want to talk about like certain places like, I don't know, like Palau, like
Okay.
they have a lot of like domestic helpers, maids.
True. Yeah.
Are hired as
Mhm.
bring them in temporarily.
Could that be because there's just a large population of Filipinos in Palau that there's this animosity because there's so many of them coming in? I mean, that's the same for almost every country. When there's a large group
Yeah.
of migrants coming into a country, there's
I
always
mean, like how Micronesians are coming to Hawaii.
exactly there's always that hatred or that
It's-
discrimination.
It's really unfortunate that happens because
Right.
it happens to us when we
Mhm.
come here, but when people go back home, we do it to other people too sometimes.
It's true. It's. I guess it's human nature. I guess it's just the way humans are. Very
The way hosts acts to like
yeah.
anything foreign to them. So
It's the thought of change, and then you don't want what you already have to change, and then you become oppressive. You don't want, you fight back.
Well, and it's not just like the overt stuff either,
Mm-hmm.
because there's certainly like those implicit biases, like where we think like, I don't know, if you maybe like we think Filipinos only eat pancit and I mean not to joke
they're
around,
good.
but
Yeah.
like or they're good at like they always do karaoke or something.
They're pretty good at it too.
I mean, it's just like those little things in our head too.
Yeah.
That are not like, oh, I don't really mean it in a bad way, but
Like positive racism, if there's such
a thing.
there's such a thing, yeah. Well, but we start to think now, like, if racism was introduced, right? Because you mentioned like how most of these people, they come in, they have good education, good backgrounds, right? And then on the other hand, they came in, they were very oppressive, right? Other colonials, right? So minus the foreigners and the colonials and the people coming in, was there ever any kind of racism that was originally from the islands? Like, we didn't have an influence or an idea of racism? Like, the idea of racism just came from the islands,
No, because we've had caste systems.
right? You're talking about Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or yeah, and even class systems.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
In place, but yeah, Yap had the.
But is that really racism? Because we're all from the same race.
Well,
Yeah.
that's actually.
I
more
think
discrimination. Then.
yeah, I think that's
But
that's
the thing
that's
about
the line there. Yeah.
in Yap though, the caste system, it froze after colonialism, because it could always change with the next war or something.
Mm.
But then after they came, they just established and they stopped all the fighting
Mm.
so that they couldn't be that real establishment of the order.
Wow.
Hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so or that's what I've heard at least or learned from some of my Yappies friends. But I could be really wrong.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm not a CPIS student.
Okay.
What was I gonna say? I mean, also like our own racism or discrimination thing. I mean, I feel like it also has to do with like territorial thing where, you know, how land is a big part of our lives, and
Right.
there's always a conflict between families
Mhm.
in that manner, or like you come from this land, like we said before, you come from this land, that land.
Mhm.
So I don't know. For me, maybe there's like that aspect to it too.
Right.
Can we talk about that a little bit though? Because like, when did we become like Chuk, Yap, Punpe, like all this stuff?
Yeah.
Because like,
When did these labels
yeah,
get slapped on? Who drew the map?
I mean, there's certainly like people from these places, but then who's the one that, like, when did we become so separate? Especially today now when we have all these like stories coming out, and then you gotta say like, oh, which part of Micronesia?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I'm from this place, not
Right.
this place.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that we should really talk about like, a little bit.
Yeah, that's well, it gets very muddled because the term Micronesia was introduced, right? That label was given to us.
Yes,
Same for
Polynesian,
Right.
Melanesia.
right, and then if you go even farther, were the Yappies the ones that came together and chose we're gonna call us Yap? We are considered Yappies,
Actually, even that name is
Yeah.
not.
right? So the story goes,
Yeah, like
Mhm.
Yap was the canoe paddle,
Mhm.
and that's what they thought the name of the island
Yeah,
was.
the foreigners thought
Yeah.
that was the name of the island, right? So these the naming of groups and people, right? This is something that was also introduced by foreigners, right? You guys, what do you call yourselves? And then was that something that we did? Of course, that's something that we did because we belong to clans,
Yeah.
we belong to like systems, right? But these systems of states and stuff, these were introduced. These were things that they told us this is how you're supposed to do it. This is the right way of doing it. And then I can talk about Chuk. So when you talk about Chuk, you say that that is one state. But
Yeah.
prior to that, were we always so friendly to each other? Like, did Chukis in the past really say we are all Chukis?
No, it's not. I mean, even till today, there's all that separation, like the Southern Marianas Islands and all that fight Chuk, and you know.
Mhm.
But I think the name Chuk already existed in terms of in our language. But like you said, when the Europeans came, they needed to know
Yeah, they needed a
what.
label.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty
They
much.
needed to complete fill in the blanks on their
Yeah,
map.
exactly.
Never mind the fact they couldn't like decide it was going to be truck or
Right.
Chuk
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
while too. Like,
But that's the thing. That's well, that speaks to identity. Like when you meet someone, the first thing you ask is where are you from, right?
Yeah.
And associated with that is who's your family
Yeah,
and what's your name,
exactly.
right? Those are important identifiers for home. Over here is like, oh, what's your name, or like, I think that's it, right? In the states, like, what's your name? What are you up to? But at home, even
Yeah.
if you don't give them your name,
yeah,
just give them where you're from and who your family name, and that's
They'll-
all you'll
yeah,
need.
they'll-
That's the most important part. Yeah.
it's like that's. I think for us it's important to know who your family is.
Yeah.
You can tell them where you're from. Like, oh, I know this person's family, so I kind of
Right.
know
Yeah.
what kind of
Right. Yeah.
person you are.
I mean, it's very natural for us to ask, like, oh, what's your last name? Where your parents are? Something that's very, you know, foreign to the people in the U.S.
Yeah.
Which they look at us kind of weird
Like, that's
when we ask.
intrusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that's a lot of racism talk. You guys have anything else to cap off that subject?
Such a wonderful subject. To
I guess
broach.
like with that, the whole identity thing comes in play. Where I
Mm.
think if you ask an elderly person, they'll say they're from the island that they're from. But if you
Mm.
ask like younger kids, they'll say I'm from Chuk.
Right.
instead. Or if you ask someone born and raised here, they might say they're Micronesian instead of their initial response is Micronesian. Not
Yeah.
that.
If I can just bring up, this is kind of a conversation we had in our last episode
Yeah.
about the first E's and the second E's. You should
True,
check it out
yeah.
if you get a chance.
It's a good case study. And then before we move on, I just want to reiterate what Russell mentioned. It's because we are generally the same race in Micronesia, there really wasn't anything like racism before actual other races entered the region, but we did have we did discriminate against each other. We did oppress each other. We're not perfect. We're all human, right? And then I don't know. Yeah, it's a very heavy subject, right? Heavy.
Well, it's good to just touch upon it because I think
Yeah.
it's something that's being very neglected
Yeah,
back home.
and moving on to another heavy topic.
Woo!
Let's talk about the muumuu,
Ooh!
right?
Yes.
Let's
love
talk
it.
about the muumuu.
Beautiful.
Is the muumuu? The muumuu was introduced.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Even
it's-
the word muumuu is not Micronesian.
Yeah.
Right? Where does that word come from?
Like
Hawaiian?
somewhere here, right?
I believe so. I believe it was Hawaiian missionaries who introduced the muumuu
Yeah.
to the islands, right?
Right.
So the question comes up because this is an introduced culture that we took to be our own. And somebody asked me, if you are a girl growing up in the islands and everyone tells you this is how you're supposed to dress with a muumuu, you're supposed to cover yourself, it's appropriate. Is this a form of conditioning women or girls to think a certain way? Are they taking away their freedoms to dress however they want to? What do you guys think?
Wow. How do I say this without stepping on
Yeah, be careful.
a lot
Kind
of
of
toes?
hard for us to talk about this.
Yeah,
in a
we are
way.
definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're gonna bring it out.
As a woman that wears muumuus.
Yes, Russell.
Well, I think certainly religions at least try to teach us.
Yes. Well, that is the root of the movie. That's the origin of it.
Because you were talking how the missionaries introduced it, right?
Mhm.
It kind of supposed to be like this lifestyle, like a morality too.
Right.
And
True.
and then it's supposed to be taught to us, and especially at a young age. So is that conditioning?
So are you asking, is the muumuu part of a bigger form of conditioning, which is religion?
I mean, do you want to say like the muumuus in our culture is kind of like the hijab in?
You can definitely say that, but I don't want to say it.
Okay. I mean, I'm not trying to pit them against each other or that, but like to an extent, maybe.
Well, they certainly have the same talking points. They're supposed to cover up the woman, make them respectable, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what I believe, right?
So without moves,
And
they're
it's-
unrespectable.
Well, so say some,
Okay.
right? So, what do you guys think? Like, is it right for, or is that saying too much?
Well,
Is it saying too much to tell children this is how you're supposed to dress? Right? It's inappropriate for you to wear shorts, for you to wear tank tops. This is the only way you should be dressing.
certainly our cultures had a dress code.
Yeah.
Especially where I'm from, like the outer islands of Yakuti, especially like you can go topless,
Okay.
and above the knees is kind of a no-no.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So to teach them that or this is one more right than the other.
Okay.
Mm.
So generally, you're accepting of the muumuu then.
I mean, I think if you're being oppressed into wearing it, then no. But if you feel comfortable wearing it, then
Right.
wear it.
Okay.
But at one point, they were oppressed to wearing it because of the missionaries, and
Right.
Because
that
of-
became over time part of our own culture.
We just accepted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's
it's accepted that
Yeah.
it's part of like of
Yeah.
our
We're proud of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a form
it's
of pride.
one of
yeah.
our own identity
Mm.
when we talk about movements too.
Right. Yeah.
certainly there are ignorant people without like outside of that belief and inside it as well,
Mhm.
who are saying that these women are being oppressed, and then they're saying that I haven't been brainwashed.
Yeah. Well, that's taking it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Like, have they been brainwashed into thinking that this is the only way to dress, and to dress any other way is inappropriate?
Well, I think
That's an extreme.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a that's that is extreme.
Well, there you go. You know, we have these like cultural guidelines on what's appropriate and inappropriate,
Right.
and certainly there's that influence of
Hmm.
foreign um, religion and culture too.
I think another part of this discussion is, which is a very important part, is that we should bring up is it was men who came up with the idea of the muumuu, right? It wasn't necessarily women. I don't know if this is completely true, but it was men who said this is the way women should dress, right? So is that another case of men?
Misogyny.
Yeah, like what do you guys think? Because certainly when I ask people who wear muumuu, why do you wear muumuu? It's because to show respect to my male relatives,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So is that a continuing the oppression of women?
No,
I can't. I don't. I really
Yeah.
can't speak on
Right.
that.
not a whole lot of
personally. Yeah.
feminist studies back home, which I think is something someone should look into.
Yeah, hopefully someone out there can
Yeah.
comment and tell us how wrong we are or how we haven't gone far enough. Maybe. So let's move on.
Wait,
go
just
ahead.
one
Yeah.
thing, like to kind of touch up on the whole appropriateness of the outfit, right?
Mhm.
But if you go to the outer islands, even to this day,
Right.
there are a lot of women who still topless and whatnot.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's appropriate in the day to day life.
Right.
But when
Right.
it comes down to going to church, that changes, and you have to cover up.
That's an interesting point. Because Russell, you brought that up. Like, it's a dress code that you have to be topless in certain islands, right? So if someone with a muumuu went to those islands, is that considered inappropriate?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, they'll make like a small exception, maybe,
a small exception.
but it's like kind of rude.
It's rude. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like where do we draw that line? You know, like where places where culture is still very strong,
Mhm.
but in one place that's seen as not appropriate.
Right. Right.
Well, I don't know. And there's that whole influence of the. I don't know. I think when we started talking a little bit about the church,
Mhm.
like there's a very big influence from the church in our islands too.
Yes. I think that's the bigger question.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about the muumuu, which is a subject within a bigger subject,
Right.
which is the influence of religion in the islands.
Yes.
And this leads to our next discussion, which is uh, a while back in the Marshall Islands, I believe they started talking about, uh, help me out here, guys, like setting in a law against
Well,
Islam.
I had heard a lot of
Okay.
Discrimination against the
Muslims
the
in.
Muslim community that's
Okay.
been kind of growing
Okay.
in Madro at least.
Now, is this discrimination tied to the military presence in the Marshalls, or is this more a religious
I want to
discrimination?
say it's a little bit of everything. Where
Mm.
a lot of things I hear is very stereotypical thing. Like, you know, I've heard someone say, "Oh, they're gonna bomb the place."
Okay.
And whatnot. So I think it has to do obviously with military, media, and religion all in one place, which kind of comes down to U.S. news media network, how they portray people of that religion, and
Right.
that's that's the only type of big news that we get back home too. So whatever the U.S. is talking about is pretty much what we're exposed to, and from there, in our minds, it's just these people.
That's the real brainwash.
Yeah, these people are the type of people that
Well-
does this type of thing.
One of the comments I saw on someone's post about it was they said the Marshalls is a Christian nation and they should get out.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know. It was really upsetting to me to see all these like negative comments,
Right.
especially because we were here in Hawaii, like working on this, like trying not to get discriminated against,
Right. Right. Right.
and people back home are
Discriminating
Yeah.
a minority group
Yeah.
at home. Yeah. So it really goes back to human nature. It,
Yeah.
it seems like we're all just.
But it's not just in the Marshalls either. Like, and it's not just against Muslims.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of policies, I guess, are put into place because of religion,
Yeah.
Christianity. Like,
Leading into that.
yeah. So
Like, mirroring the Marshall Islands, the state of Kusrai and the FSM,
yeah,
they seem like they're following the same path.
yeah,
They're trying to enact laws to outlaw Islam. And both of these cases, it seems like it would be constitutionally wrong. Doesn't that go against separation of church and state or freedom of religion, right? The right to believe in what you want to believe. What do you
As
guys
long
think?
as it's Christianity.
Yeah, which is also ironic because that religion was in many ways forced onto us
Yeah.
Mhm.
to begin with, right? So now it's like we're forcing that onto
Just
other
carrying on
people.
the tradition.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like the whole forcing onto other part is like, I know a tourist that was in Kusrai, and obviously they were tourists, so they don't know the laws there and whatnot. But on one Sunday, they decided to go jogging because that was part of their routine.
Okay.
But however, the police officers or somebody that spotted them told them to not exercise. You're not supposed to be doing that, and told them to go back to their hotels.
Because it was a Sunday.
Would
Because
they
it
have
was
been
a Sunday.
fined?
I
Wait,
don't know.
So there is a law that prohibits people from doing anything
Exercising.
other than worship.
I guess so.
It's
Wow.
like a shrine footloose.
Let's go to another state. But this isn't just happening on the east side of Micro. It certainly is also seems like it's happening in Chuk again. Right? There are talks that Chuk leadership want to outlaw gay marriage.
Whoa.
Yeah, they want to. I believe there's a bill out there. I'm not sure if they voted on it yet, but they want to outlaw gays and lesbians to marry.
Is it a
Is that the problem?
Is it a big
Yeah.
issue right now?
Is
Like,
that the issue in Chuk?
is a
Is
bunch
this,
of guys trying to get married right now?
I don't know. Maybe this will solve our
All the
economic
problems,
crisis. Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know.
Wow.
It's honestly, it's just a religious thing.
It
to
is.
me.
It's it's exactly a religious thing. I mean, what does homosexuality have to do with Chuk's economic downfall? Like their plights in the economy and the corruption that they're going through, right?
Wow.
But I don't know. Like I have to also respect some of these beliefs because if we don't respect it, then we're just doing what they're doing. We're oppressing their
Right.
right to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have to do it. But just be respectful of each other.
Well, are they making laws so that you can't believe that?
The
don't
reverse
know.
psychology.
I think I'm just more encouraged at the fact that's like the issue that the Senate needs to bring up
Like, is it?
before
You
the.
think it's a waste of time, right?
I don't. Maybe not necessarily.
There's
Sort of, but
bigger-
there's bigger fish to
Yeah.
fry than
Yeah.
the gay problem.
Yeah, and again, the gay problem. Is there really a problem of homosexuals racing to get married in Chuk or in the islands? Right. This is obviously a preemptive law to prevent that from ever becoming a problem. Yeah.
You know, like it's never a. I've never had a big serious conversation about
Homosexuality.
sexual. Yeah, in the islands, like
Okay.
it's usually just like a joke, like those guys or these girls.
I've been certainly guilty of saying some of those jokes. Yeah, I've been an idiot once or twice.
But I don't know. Maybe there's just this huge conservative movement going on now that
Yeah.
we don't know about. We're not aware of.
Yeah, it's also interesting because we talk about religion as a unifying thing and it's how great it is in the islands, but we don't really talk about the negative impacts of religion to our islands. And these, well, according to us, obviously, we think these are some of the negatives that religion brings,
I-
right?
I think we should just say, to be clear, like we have a lot of positive thoughts about
Of course,
religion. Like it
yeah.
really influenced us like really
Yeah,
well. I think
we are religious.
we went to Xavier Catholic High School. It really taught us to
Yeah, but there are certain elements
yeah,
that are just
like with any system,
Yeah,
Right,
there's a flaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
right.
like like since we're talking about religion
Mhm.
and this stuff, like fundraising, like these churches pull in a lot of money.
And they don't get taxed.
Yeah,
Right.
But and we kind of struggling a little bit with the
Mm.
funds department, but they're able to gather, like, which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's bad, but
Yeah. But that's, I don't know. I think to look at it in a positive way, that's one way of seeing how communities can come together,
together,
and and pull through in difficult times, right?
Yeah. I
But-
mean that's also reflected here in Hawaii too. Like a lot of the church communities,
Right.
Micronesian church communities are doing a lot of work, and they come together as one community and trying to make, help each other out.
Right. And I think it's also worth noting that we've said how religion is like eating away at our culture and
Yeah.
tradition, but it also is promoting our cultures and traditions.
Mhm.
Like our songs are being passed on
Yeah.
through religion, right? Our sense of communities and the importance of family, the importance of respect, right? Some of the core values of our cultures and traditions are being passed on through the religions, right? The religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to mention, like, the Bible is actually helping keeping the language together
Yes.
too. The
That's a great
translation,
point. Yeah. Translated into our native tongues.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Since it was done in the early days, it keeps the, very one most not original, but like how the language is supposed
Some
to
of
be.
the words that we are losing today. Yeah.
It's in there.
It's a great source of native language.
Mhm.
Great point. Yeah. Anything else to add to religion? No. Okay, let's move on. The final thing we want to talk about is breadfruit.
yes, food.
Yeah, breadfruit. And the Breadfruit Institute, I believe it's here in Hawaii or in the Big Island maybe, right? They want to end world hunger, right? Because breadfruit can grow pretty much almost everywhere, and it's year round. It can
Mhm.
produce food. You can turn it into grain, and you can do a lot of things with breadfruits.
Very
Right.
nutritious.
Yeah, and it has the perfect amount of vitamins, and we've known this since the beginning.
It's been our staple food for
Yeah.
a very long time.
Like what other great things do we have from home that we can bring to the world? Right, breadfruit it's making its way.
Yeah.
I just want to comment on what you're saying. Like, yeah, we've known this for a long time,
Right.
and it's like, I don't know, it's just now that it's finally getting out there.
It's getting out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we know so many ways of
Right.
preparing breadfruit, like
Yeah.
pounding it.
I hope somebody's
steaming
watching this
it,
right now, like cooking some bread.
Chips.
Oh
my
chips
gosh.
are so good,
Yeah, we've had the answer to end world hunger for a long time.
and we've been doing it for a long time.
Another important Micronesian dish that I saw that's making its way into the world, it's becoming extremely popular here in Hawaii, is good old Kool-aid. Right? I'm starting to see some local kids here in Hawaii,
They got red fingers.
red fingers,
Oh my
red
gosh.
lips, right? It's the good old Kool-Aid, tamarind salt, however you like to mix it, right? And what do you guys think about us introducing our cultures?
Is this with mangoes and stuff?
No, this is straight right from your
From the
hand,
hand.
like old school.
So instead of the one that we've known about since the beginning of time, we got
Right. We got this one.
like the worst thing you could eat.
What do you think about that, though?
I think it speaks to the youth,
It speaks to you,
like getting out there and spreading our culture,
our
I
traditions.
guess. New culture.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know, like it kind of like makes sense because
How so?
when we were kids, now there's kids out here, and they're sharing it with other kids, which means that we're sharing culture with not the best like
It's a
It's
small
not-
example.
yeah.
But yeah. It speaks to a bigger idea. Yeah.
right.
So I think you're onto something there. Like this is maybe our generation is is being oppressed and is oppressive to each other.
Yeah.
But it gives me a little bit of hope that these kids found something that they can share with each
Yeah.
other, and then they're coming together like, hey, you guys have tamarind? I got some Kool-Aid. And then it's bringing these kids together. So
What about ramen?
they haven't gotten that far.
Oh, okay.
We've only come so far.
That's step one.
Well,
That's pretty deep.
yeah. So do you guys have anything else to add? Like, have we reached our full potential as far as what we can give to the world? Breadfruit and Kool-Aid.
Well, no, we still have a lot more to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a serious note, navigation, right? We have some great minds going all over the world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have a lot to offer. Yeah.
Yeah,
World-class talents.
legends.
Yeah, our stories are amazing. The idea of climate change and being one with your environment,
Yeah.
right? That's certainly a huge idea. Yeah.
Someone was telling me that they're gonna start was telling us, right? They're gonna be building a canoe in Palo or something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
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 So we're gonna be sharing that. They have like a master carver from the Marshalls.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
So we're gonna be sharing more culture, and hopefully the youth get more involved too, because
Right.
apparently they're able to share that stuff better
Yeah.
than we are.
It seems like they're doing a good service to our communities.
I mean, even in was it Portland or
Yeah.
Salem? What's one of those?
Oregon.
Or yeah, yeah, the state of Oregon. Okay. They
Oh,
had
they
that canoe thing going on.
Don't they also have like a Micronesian Day in
Yeah.
Oregon?
Yes, there is. I actually was there
Last
2
year?
years ago.
2
like,
years ago?
So the
something.
state put that together, or what's going on there?
Just the
I don't know if
community
it's a
there, yeah.
state
Hmm.
thing, but it was obviously
Right.
focused on the community in Salem.
Right. And they
But-
have something like that here also.
Yeah,
Right.
it's an annual thing, which is actually coming up in March.
Okay.
March 19
Hmm.
will be another Micronesian celebration with performances and
Sharing cultures.
sharing cultures. And this year around, I think they're going to feature a lot of contemporary Micronesian art. So maybe we'll see a lot more like carvings and weavings.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully.
If I could just do a quick shameless plug.
Go ahead.
Chaminade, our Micronesian club, along with Lumanai o Samoa, the Samoan club, and the Civic Engagement Club. We went to Mayor Wright. We do this community service project like every semester where we go to low income housing, and then we do it. It's called Tales and Treats.
Mhm.
We tell the kids like Micronesian and Samoan myths and legends and some other stories,
Right,
like
right,
morals and stuff. And we also like give them little treats and stuff. It's kind of like just reminding me of, like the cool stuff. So like,
You should give them Kool-Aid.
Oh, shit. Cool. But yeah, it's cool. Like we're teaching them a little bit about the culture and providing them a little snack and food. But then also get to interact with other people from where they're from, college students.
It's nice.
Yeah, so they can think like, oh, I can go to college too. It's pretty good. We just had it yesterday actually.
Okay.
We got one more. We're actually gonna bring them up to campus. But yeah, every semester we've been doing it.
All right.
Pretty good stuff.
That's great.
Should bring some breadfruit next time.
And Kool-Aid. Well,
the Kool-Aid man's gonna like burst through the walls.
well, I think that's it. That's all we have listed for today's show. Do you guys have anything else you want to add? Any more plugs? Nothing?
I don't know. If you guys are, interested, as we mentioned in the beginning of the show, our longtime supporter Hiroyuki Mori, thank you. The folks at iSolution, they have stickers like these right here, and other merch like T-shirts and whatnot. So check them out if you're in Chuk. I believe they are located where the old Bank of FSM used to be.
Everyone knows where that is.
Yeah, so I haven't been home in a long time, but that's where they are. So if you have computer problems and whatnot, go check it out. They have I believe they also sell cell phones and whatnot. So yeah, check them out.
Nothing more for me.
Well, that's it for today, I guess. Thank you, everyone. And again, these are mostly our ideas. It does not reflect the core values of TFB, but it could. But yeah, and send us your questions, contact us.
Yes.
Become a part of the discussion. And yeah,
We'll try to advertise these more so you guys can make time to comment and join us in the discussion.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
the
and
future.
please comment. We do read all our comments.
yes, all three of them.
Yes, every day. So
All right. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you and
Hi,
see you
Mom.
guys next time, whenever that will be.
Put up your gang signs.